Hello everyone, this is CJ992 and today we have a special video and I can see the smile going already, ladies. It's already getting wide right now as we are joined by the one and only RYAN118. How's it gone, Ryan? How's it gone?
Honestly, mate, no too bad compared to the situation we're in. I'm actually no too bad. The sun is shining. All I've been thinking this morning is, I wonder what will actually get more clicks. You playing Warzone with the Rangers team, or people want to come and see me get absolutely slaughtered. I'm genuinely like, what will happen? But no, mate, I'm all right. I'm not bad.
That's good, mate. It's one of these things. We've not actually sat down and had a football. We've obviously been joking and having stuff with WhatsApp, but we've not sat down 1v1 had a conversation. But I'll be honest, even though it's been like a year, I'm still sick of the sight of you because I cannot go online without seeing your face on Twitter, mate. I'm sick of you.
Mate, it's mad. Actually, I don't mind that. I've always said this. I don't mind that. I guess a good laugh. Well. I take it well. I try my best to take it well. But yeah, I know it's this year. It's been big, innit? You know, every 5 minutes, it's like, oh, here's the Shane Duffy clip. Oh, here's the Barisic clip. Here's this, that, next thing. I'm like, what the f do you have today? But look, it's promoted the channel for free. I can't complain, really.
It's just one of those things, when you put yourself out there. I've had it for years, mate. It can be tough sometimes, but I like the way you take it. You're kind of like me. You take it with the jokes and the rolling punches. I think that's the best way to actually go about it and everything like that. But we're obviously here to talk about the season that is now officially over. And we were talking about doing this video a couple of months ago and even longer than that, but we're like, let's wait to the end of the season. Let's wait for the dust to settle and then let's just sit down and have a conversation. Because at that point, even when we first talked about this, we weren't quite sure the roller coaster of the season was actually going to be. But everyone who's clicked on today's video has probably seen how I've went through this journey. But what about you, Ryan? What's your thoughts on the old CZ on?
Well, it's interesting you say obviously a couple of weeks ago we were like, oh, we might do this. You know, I think we actually originally planned to do it before the season ended, and I'm like, that's right. Certainly from my point of view, if we did do it November. So well, don't have to remind me. But like from my point of view, like if we'd done that a couple of weeks ago, we had no idea what was going to happen in the couple of weeks that's just passed. Like it's taking even more turns. I know it's technically season's over, but even for a Celtic fan now, things have changed big time. And in terms of the season in general, though, I mean, what can you say? I think nobody expected it to go the way it did for either side. I think if you said at the start of the season...
No, a 25-point gap. I don't think
I know a 25-point gap, no. But even to suggest at the start of the season that Rangers would go unbeaten and have an invincible league campaign, and for Celtic to go through everything that they did, you would have been laughing. You wouldn't have expected it. Everything has flipped 180 degrees, big time. When I made that predictions video at the start of the season,
did you make Rangers a video?
No, mate, no. Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
No, okay.
When I made that, Rangers couldn't kick their own arse at the time, man. Like it was crazy, and Celtic were on fire. And then you come on a year later and it is 180 degrees different. It's crazy. And that's a credit to Rangers, and then also just a credit to the state that Celtic are in.
It's funny you say that's a credit to Rangers because there's obviously loads of clips going about and everything like that. So I'm kind of seeing it for the other side now. We're all just kind of laughing and using everything. But you are probably the only one out there that actually always gives Rangers credit. Like, people try and make excuses and say, if this happened, this happened. You're the only guy that can genuinely have an honest conversation about that. How rare do you feel, by the way? Because you just look around and everyone's mental over your side. What's going on?
Don't remind me, mate. I hate it. No, but in all seriousness, it's like me and you have been doing YouTube, I think, for approximately the same amount of time. Us two have been two of the people on here the longest talking on either side of things. And I have been incredibly fair in everything that I've said, I think, for the last 5 years. I think I've said things how it is. I've said that when Celtic were flying, I said everything how it was, and that was in regards to both sides. And for me to suddenly flip and change that now would be hypocritical of me. I don't see why in any way, shape, or form how I could criticise anything that Rangers done this year. It would just look petty. It would look petty. It would look really, really petty. And of course, people throw excuses sometimes, and I hate the idea. I see there's the odd fan who comments like, "Oh, you're just lapping up to the Rangers supporters now," and that's never the case. I just like to talk about things. Honestly. And this season, for me to come out and say, "Oh, Rangers are just lucky," or it's because there's no fans and all that there. Of course, like stuff like that might have an influence to some extent, but in all seriousness, they have
still a game of football.
They've finished the season unbeaten, for God's sake. Like I can't exactly come away with anything outrageous at this point. I've done that at the start of the season, and as I come to the end, I can only sit down and be brutally honest.
We have been doing this a very long time. I've got Grace, you're losing yours. It's been one of those things, Ryan. We've kind of been on this journey, man. And I'm enjoying being at my side, I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm glad you see that, because we'll kind of touch on the Rangers side, and obviously we're going to go down and see what was going wrong at Celtic, what happened, and everything like that. But Rangers, almost for the first game versus Aberdeen, at that time there was questions about Morelos, there was questions about no fit strikers or anything like that. But they got the job done, and you could see our togetherness. And that's the one thing that I see in the Rangers team that I didn't see in the Celtic team, and that is the togetherness in the squad. It looks like every single one of those Rangers players come into this season with the idea that all the stuff that went in the past doesn't matter. It's one game at a time, and we believe that we can do this, and we will fight for each other. Somebody gets hurt, somebody else comes in. If somebody isn't tracking back, we'll call them out on it. I didn't see that in the Celtic team at all, Ryan. I just see individuals.
Well, it's hard to disagree with you, because you go back, you're going right back to the start of the season against Aberdeen there. I'll go right back to the start of the season against Ferencváros for Celtic. And after that game,
love that.
After that game, Neil Lennon came out and he went right through the team. He threw everybody under the bus, and he said, there's players here that don't want to be here. He never named the players that didn't want to be here, but he said, there's players here that don't want to be here. And people, and I wasn't as... At the time, I was naive. I looked over it and went, right, we've had a blip in the road. We need to overcome it. And it's just been one of those Neil Lennon moments. But there were people, and I should have been the same, who were wise enough to go and look at that moment and go, it's all downhill for here. That set the tone right from the start. And it's the same. And we've seen it on both sides. Rangers set the tone from the start of the season with what you're saying there against Aberdeen, showing a bit of togetherness. Whereas you've got Neil Lennon at the other side of the city, who's just completely thrown everybody under the bus and said that, there's no togetherness. So, yeah, you look at both sides and you see a completely different complexion and how things were running at the training ground and at the club. And that takes, you see that. As soon as we got to this game at Celtic Park as well, you could see that straight away.
Yeah, there was a big difference.
It just kept going throughout the season.
I'm glad you mentioned the first game, because I thought the first Old Firm game, I actually sat back in, and obviously I had my jokes and everything. I had fun with the video, but I sat back and went, there looks like there's a massive difference this year. And I was like, this could be very, very good. And again, the next two Old Firms, I think I didn't believe in the whole thing where, you dominated the next one. I think you had good spells in certain games, and it kind of flowed the way it did. But to go through an entire season where you even say with yourself, Ryan, this was your biggest, arguably your biggest season during like Celtic's entire run. But to go through not beating Rangers once at all, man, not many people would have saw that. I saw it in my dreams. I was looking forward to it. I enjoyed every second of it. But do you look at this Celtic team now and say, like, is it the players? I know everyone's kind of jumped on and said, if Lennon was out the door. For me, that's irrelevant. These group of players were still there. Half of them couldn't be bothered getting fit. You all know what I'm talking about. There was problems with, I think, professionalism that bred in for the squad and for the management. And I just see it's night and day now, Ryan. So where do you sit with that?
The problems at Celtic are head to toe. I don't even think there's no a specific area. Kind of a point it was everybody was like, it's Lennon.
I remember that. It was going to change when the next guy came in.
Exactly. It all goes from Dermot Desmond right down to the very bottom. Like, everywhere at Celtic right now needs a complete renovation, a complete fix. And you're talking about the fitness, you're talking about the team and who looks bothered and all the rest of it. It's been a massive problem throughout the entirety of the season, and it's hard to escape that. People try to make excuses and all the time and excuse certain people and say things will change and all the rest of it. But until there's a fundamental change at the club, which we're yet to experience, I don't see any way in how that does get fixed. Those problems were there every week, from the smallest of games to the biggest of games. The Rangers games, I think, of course, you've already touched on the two games where people say Celtic were on top or whatever. Yeah, I think that we were the better team for portions of the games, but at the end of the day, we didn't win. We weren't clinical.
Exactly, that's the thing that matters.
Yeah, the thing that matters is 3 points at the end of the day. And I say that in my videos all the time. I'm like, we played well. At points, you might say we deserved to win, but unless you put the ball in the back of the net, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Those problems are just going to keep shining through until there's a fundamental change, and that's the big issue. And people are far too naive to, and people are. We speak about this on our podcast all the time. We say there's too many people that just because it's Celtic, you can't criticise certain things, and that's the issue.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You talk about problems, and I remember when you actually announced Lennon, and obviously I was kind of with the meme status for a while, because I said in my prediction video that year that I thought Lennon would come in and slowly but surely ruin what Brendan Rodgers had put in place, and I thought it would kind of go the way it always goes with Neil Lennon. You look at his career trajectory, it always has that. Man, you talk about Jose Mourinho having that down. Lennon's had his sensational, and I was memed everywhere and that when the season was called earlier, the Zoom and all that stuff. People saying, oh no, Lennon ball. But then you could see it for me. I saw it for day one and I saw the slow decline. Yes, he's had a very good second half of the season coming back for Dubai, and I'll be honest, he's were blitzing teams left, right, and centre, scoring goals for fun. But still, I still went, he isn't what Celtic needs. And I genuinely think, Ryan, too many people, too many podcasts, too many people around the Celtic sport was all busy looking at Rangers and not looking at your front door. And this is what's happened. You've let it go too long. You've been laughing, you've been making up stories, doing this. But it's just, you've let your club slide. And that's what I can see when I just look at Celtic Football Club. Spent too much time looking at Rangers instead of themselves.
He pulled the ball out of everybody's eyes, really.
Because you did, especially I had the apology and it got.
Because look, you went right back to when he was given the job, and you remember, like you screenshotted my tweet. I put up a tweet saying, if Lennon gets the job, you can say goodbye to 10, and that was my initial thought. I was like, I do not believe it. But then that season ended. We go into the next season. I'm in Rome watching us beat Lazio away. We're away on. We go and win the league. We go and win the league and all the rest of it. So he charmed me, and he charmed many others into thinking like, oh, this is it.
Beautifully.
He's revitalised it all. And you might be right to an extent. I don't know if it's necessarily we're looking too much at Rangers. I think it's just there was a certain there was hysterics from Celtic fans about winning that 9 in a row, being one away, watching Rangers like. I mean, I still remember that night, the second half, watching that. And I know that kind of falls into what you're saying, watching too much in Rangers. But when you were getting beat at half Hamilton at Ibrox for talking, it's like there was like no way that we could look at that and no laugh. So to an extent, you may be right in saying that we were looking too much at Rangers, but we're at that point in time, I think that with the way Celtic were playing and the way Rangers were playing, people were more than happy to say Lennon's the guy for the 10. And that was the issue. The issue was we got far too comfortable. I don't even think it was the fact that we're looking at Rangers too much. We just got too comfortable. We got too complacent. And ultimately, the problems that we were letting build for that whole year because they were there, and you look back and they were subliminally building, but because we were getting good results, it didn't matter. Because we're getting good results, these problems didn't matter. That was the issue for me. The issue was we were just getting far too comfortable in the position we were in while not realising that behind the scenes, so much was going wrong.
Yeah, it certainly was, man. We talked about Neil Lennon and we've mentioned him a couple of times, but obviously his run, I couldn't believe he stayed the job for as long as he did. I loved every single second of it. And you know that I kept sending you that sad face clip Neil every single day. Honestly, I'm surprised you never blocked me on WhatsApp, but eventually it did get removed and everyone was talking, oh, it's going to be exciting, there's going to be changes made, but it was pretty much the exact same team. You had I hear for you all the time you say that Dembele's a very, very talented player, and I've actually seen him in a youth game once and he was very good versus Rangers in that game, but you're still not seeing these players. It was the same group of players, so it's like, what was the point of sacking him if you're going to play the exact same way and still use the exact same players?
Yeah, we certainly just inherited this, what some people call him John Lennedy. Like that was literally what we got. But we waited far too long. That was the thing. Like Lennon should have been.
Do you think it would have made a difference in the season if you'd have sacked? Do you think that?
I don't think we would have won the league. I don't think it would have made a difference in terms of the final result. But I think what it would have allowed Celtic to do would have been identify a target for the manager job. I think we would have got somebody. And I think we could have. Oh, don't. Do you want me to just like start greeting on this video? But like we would identify somebody, and I think we could have started making changes, and then we could have maybe done something in the remainder of the season that we had. But the fact is, we waited until February, March time. John Kennedy, and John Kennedy comes in, and I think he's just like looking at it as an addition for him to get the job. And an addition for him to get the job was by playing what was still the best players rather than making these changes. Because if he made all these changes, then there was a risk of him not getting results, and then he's out the way of getting the job, which I think he's known from the start. But if we did, I don't think it would have made a change to the final result of the season if we sacked Lennon early. But if we sacked him in October, November time, you're talking about maybe identifying and getting a manager by January or something, and then you've got a full kind of second post of the season to work with. But we didn't get that, and that was the problem.
That's good to hear, because that's one of the excuses. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to clear up all this sort of stuff, because I've seen that, and for me, that I didn't say the Celtic threw away the league. For me, Rangers went ahead and won it. And not only did they go ahead and win it, they just absolutely steamrolled it. And I mean, I'm talking about that for that 2-2 draw versus Hibs, where everyone said Rangers' bottle went and everything like that, to go on a 17-match run in the league, winning every game. That's unheard of going through December. That's unbelievable. So
don't get me wrong. Like, there was a point in, like, sorry to cut you off, don't get me wrong, there was a point in, like, November where, like, I was like, right, if we sack Lennon now, we've genuinely got a chance of maybe not catching Rangers, but we've got a chance to try and get ourselves back somewhere close to them. But as time went on, with or without Lennon, as time went on, you realise, like, no, even if we did sack him then, like, like, so when it got to, like, don't know, February, March time, was like, okay, even if we did sack Lennon in November, it wasn't going to happen. In November time, you're a bit more optimistic about it, because you're like, oh, we can make the change and start getting results. But then you just knew it was never going to happen once it hit like February or March, no matter when you sacked him.
Exactly, mate. Rangers just kept going and going and going. And I think the additions in the summer, some of the younger players, it has been through some hard times over the last couple of seasons. And that's one of the things for me. You look at the Rangers team and what Gerard's done, they brought in young players, young talented players like Glenn Kamara for 50k. That's absolutely stupid to have that type of deal. Joe Aribo, Ryan Kent. These boys have took their blows, they've took their questions, their doubts, but they've grew. And they've grew into the Rangers shirt, as I've said here many times on the channel. And I thought this season is when they really all clicked as a one. Again, that togetherness was shining. So for me, all the people try and make excuses for that and that. Now, Rangers went ahead and won this league, and that's why there's a 25-point gap.
Well, I mean, I've got to take my slice of humble pie, because you're talking about the additions you made to the squad. I'm sitting there to start saying like Bassey who, Balogun who, and all the rest. And I was giving it the whole Billy Big Bollocks, and
mate, I'm even watching my mic and everything. It was like the peak of it. Was like Celtic have just fed me everything for like 4 or 5 years on YouTube. I'm like, right, okay, this is the 10-0 season. I have never been confident of anything more in my life, so I'm just going to go for it. And I should have, but you bring up the it. By God, did you go for it, son?
By God, did I go for it?
Oh, wow.
And at the time, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to regret this. Obviously, I did. But, looking back on it now, Rangers, you can say whatever you like about the stature of player that they may have signed, but in the long run, the recruitment has worked out well. That's the honest truth. Even players like Kemar Roof, what an addition. I mean, he scored, am I right here in saying he scored more league goals than Morelos this season?
Yeah.
Kemar Roof, aye.
Yep.
These are players who've came in, the recruitment's been smart, and on paper, guys like Balogun and Bassey, and even maybe Kamara to an extent, they might have not seemed like great signings on paper when they came in, but in terms of what they've offered off the bench and for depth and even starting with Kamara now, who's made himself one of the best players of the team, it's turned out in the long run very, very wise investments.
Yeah, and I like the fact that we can have a conversation, because that's exactly where I wanted to go. I wanted to go and kind of briefly mention that video, because honestly, I see that clip all the time. Balogun, who? We've signed a Champions League goalkeeper. Oh my days, man. What a signing he was for you, big man. What a signing. But even someone you never mentioned, John McLaughlin, got 13 clean sheets out of 15 games. That's stupid. It's frightening. And again, that shows you with the people that have been brought in, and again, we just went about our business. Ross Wilson coming in, scouting, identifying. It feels like everything for Rangers is now right in the place to only get better, because you look at the Rangers team, how young they are, and they're on their long-term contracts. The one I'm worried about, I'll be honest, is Glenn Kamara, because I'm terrified he has a fantastic Euros and he's gone, because he's playing as such. Yeah, I am. That's the one I'm absolutely terrified. But forget that locked in. It feels like everything is gone this way for Rangers. But when I look there, I'm seeing, even today, I'm seeing Ayers maybe going to Newcastle. I've heard a lot about Edouard. Hasn't he looked at our story? Like, he still scored a lot of goals. He's probably gone. Is he gone? So it looks like we're this way and you're this way. So we should head up.
Well, it's crazy, because just to come back to the last transfer window, like, obviously I was like, Rangers, when it happened, I was like, oh, we've had such a better transfer window, because it's like, Barcast, Turnbull. I was like, oh, what a window. Just sitting there as
Shane Duffy, big man.
What was it again? Celtic put up, just sitting there like, just sitting here thinking, what a window. That was me amongst the majority of the Celtic support. We all kind of thought, what a window. But now we're in a position where, and today, look at you, I can't help it. Now we're in a position today where El Yunusi returns back to his parent club, Laxalt returns to his parent club, Kenny returns to his parent club.
He was brilliant for us, by the way.
And
Kenny?
Scott,
big fan of him.
For you, and Scott Brown moves to Aberdeen. So that's 4 players leaving today. And then also today, the likes of Edouard, Ayer, Christie, a couple of the younger guys as well, all head into the Griffiths. They all head into the last year of their contract. our management of our squad has been really, really bad. And we're leaving ourselves in a position now where we're going to have to be desperate to sell players going into the last year of the contract for lower fees to then sign them with players that don't even have a manager yet to work with. So it's you say that Rangers are going that way and Celtic are going like that way. Now, that way is no longer just that way. It's like down to the Earth's core and just
down to Australia, some might say.
Down to Australia, some might say. It's down and it's stagnant and it's not going to move until we get a manager. Like, it can't move.
Yeah, and that kind of gives us the perfect transition into the old manager situation. And again, I'm sick of seeing you online, mate, because all the Eddie Howe stuff and everything like that. But that has, I can remember we were all having a laugh and joking in the WhatsApp group, me, you, and Div and all that. And I was like, I hope with every fibre of my being that Eddie Howe doesn't go there, because I will never, ever stop laughing. And you were like, don't even put that out there. Well, that's completely gone. Eddie Howe is officially done and dusted. And so, where's your thoughts at even that? Because it looked like there was only one guy that you all wanted. And even the fans were buying in it. Terrible season. Absolutely slapped, battered off Rangers. But you're like, Eddie Howe, at least we've got a core and then we can build over the next couple. That's been ripped away fees as well.
Mate, it buckled. Like, that was the positive. That was the shining light of the season finally ending. Like, oh, we've had all the negatives. Now we can have Eddie Howe. That was it. And that gets taken away from you. What you meant to here? Before we go any further, I want to ask you a question. Can you? Do you? I want to see your go at it. Can you pronounce the favourite's name?
You know, son. I was looking at it right, and I was like, no, I can't even do it. I call him Big Ange. That's what
Big Ange. Big Ange.
Committed to
Big Ange.
Can you get a go?
Ange Postecoglou. That's his name.
Aye, that's what I'd say.
Ange Postecoglou.
And that's me being elitist or blah, blah, blah. I'm just terrible with names.
Mate, I had to sit there. That's why I asked you, because I was like, I know you love mispronunciations. I know you love it, so that's why I asked. But I was sitting there before the first live stream. There's not an elitist thing at all, because the first live stream that I'd done after the Howe news collapse and we had to talk about who the new favourite was, generally me and Ryan McGinley for the podcast are sitting there like, okay, rehearsal, Ange Postecoglou. Like, we're sitting there trying our best to
I remember it was like the Rangers at one point, and I was like, oh no, I didn't even want that. I remember this. I think this was it the summer when Pedro came in? At
first I thought it was Pedro Caixinha was given the job before him, but we done some research today. Apparently it was after Pedro was sacked.
Oh, really?
Apparently it was after he was sacked. Postecoglou was one of the options, but then of course Graham Murray took the job and then ended up getting given to Steven Gerrard.
Big Sir Steve, eh?
No, but you know, to go from Eddie Howe, who we had our kind of mindset on for 2-3 months, to suddenly collapse and then go to someone you've never heard of in Postecoglou, you're like, what is going on? And there's a lot of Celtic fans, including myself, who are trying to make the best out of a bad situation. We're trying to look at the very limited positives there is from this, because Eddie Howe collapsing was not meant to happen. It was done. Eddie Howe was coming to Celtic. He was done, mate. He was done.
Is that Ivan Toney-esque guy? Just come up, have a wee look around, leave?
Aye, pretty much. But to go from Howe to Postecoglou, people are like, oh, we've obviously done it. It still screams panic to me, man. It just screams like there's nobody who wants. Nobody wants to be the second choice to Eddie Howe or Celtic Football Club. They wanted to be first choice. So to then turn around and ask a top manager, oh, we want you now. No, of course I got to say no. Like, just ask me first. I'm not being the second fiddle. So now we're kind of having to turn to Postecoglou, and it's an annoyance. I'm trying to look at the positives, but the situation that Celtic Football Club have found themselves in over the past year to this point right now is this is crazy. Like, this is the biggest collapse you could ever imagine.
For years.
The baton has firmly been passed into Celtic's hand.
Yeah, see, when I heard the news and everything like that, because I seen like the Eddie Howe stuff, I heard about you. I heard you saying you were very excited about it and everything. I know you were buying mugs and celebrating, doing dances, watching training sessions. The lot, mate. You were watching training sessions, cheering it on, and then to see it collapse, and then this name get flung out there. And again, I'm just gonna admit I didn't care too much about him, and that's probably me. Probably someone will tell me, oh, he's great at this or anything like that. I'm just saying that I just don't know him, and that's just me being fair. But it just screams that you've clearly been steering it one way to then that be ripped away, and then just to throw another name out there. That boy must feel I mean, he's going to be delighted that he's going to be given an opportunity to manage Celtic, I can imagine. But surely he must be going, oh, great, I'm literally one of the ugly sisters. I'm just the backup. Do you know what I mean?
See, that's we were talking about this literally. We recorded the podcast before we came on the air, and the way that I put it, and to keep it consistent across my channel and any other channel I appear on, it strikes me towards somebody who should never have been in this position to manage a club like Celtic, and they're not going to turn it down.
Has he even got the badges to Dayson in Europe?
So
is that true?
From what I've heard, he's not got a Continental Pro license. But this is another thing that we also done research and going into before we done the podcast today. Steven Gerrard didn't have his pro badge either when he came to Rangers. What you need to do is when you come to the club, as long as you're studying it while you're at the club, that's fine. So he comes to Celtic and he studies his pro license over the course of that year. That's fine. That's what Gerrard done when he came to Rangers. Apparently, he studied it over that year. So apparently that's the situation. But yeah, it strikes me as the kind of guy. It's like, I don't care if I'm 7th, 8th, or 9th choice. This is massive. You can't.
That's a bit of a warning sign as well.
How lucky am I? I don't know what choice he would have been. Some articles are reporting that Celtic have been tracking him for months. Don't know how much truth is in that. But
is that the same articles that says that Eddie Howe was a done deal?
Howe's coming to Celtic, but no matter where he was in the pecking order, he's going to be thinking to himself, what a job, what a position I'm in, how lucky am I? I'm taking that. He's not going to be caring about being second or third choice. He's going to take it.
I mean, he shouldn't either, because when Pedro came in, I always remember going, oh no, but then obviously Boateng, I was quite excited to see what you bring difference and because you hear, I mean, whenever someone gets announced, you're hearing all the best parts, you know what I mean? They're not going to come out and say that he's terrible. So we all heard all this, and then we saw it just absolutely go completely wrong, and I hope that happens next season for you.
I don't. Well, that's it. It can either go. It can go one or two ways. It can either be like Pedro Caixinha all over again, or you could have like a Wim Jansen. Of course, Wim Jansen wasn't really that known. I know he managed final at that point, but came in and he stopped Rangers 10-0 bid. So it could go like any of those two ways. You never know. It is a complete and utter gamble. But I think a lot of people prefer that gamble rather than like a Roy Keane. That's the kind of the massive positive at the minute.
I'd have been finished. I'd have been finished. Yeah. See if you put Roy Keane in there, I'd have been done and dusted, mate. Because I can just imagine your reaction if that. I'd have had to phone you. I'd have had to phone you.
I think I would have just retired. Like, I've already contemplated retirement after the house stuff, but I think I would have just retired if it was Keane. And do you know what? I'm going to be completely and utterly honest. I have this horrible gut feeling that it is still going to be Keane. I've been saying it to everybody all weekend. I'm like, it's going to be Keane. I just have a gut feeling it's going to be Roy Keane.
Oh, my God. Oh, honestly, I hope so. Fingers crossed for you, big man. Fingers crossed for you. So, from an old fan perspective, I'm quite interested to see. I think Celtic's got a massive rebuild. I think people are talking down the job that he's actually done. You've got aging players, you've got players out of contract, you've got players leaving. You're kind of having to get an entire, basically, new 11, pretty much, who you're hearing. Again, I know you're a big fan of Barkas, and trust me, so am I. But you're going to need to go out there and get different players. You're getting a new manager. It's going to take time to adjust. This is a massive rebuild now. It's no, yous are all so far away, you can make changes. No, Rangers are rampant right now, ruthless and only getting better. Celtic again have a massive job. So where's your head going at next season? What do you see and coming in for this summer in Celtic? Is that a complete rebuild?
Mate, it's more than a rebuild. This is like a Buckingham Palace renovation. Like this needs hundreds of millions of pounds pumped in. I'm joking. Obviously,
you sound like Chris Commons when he says how much was it going to spend for Rangers to catch Celtic? Hundreds of millions, I think, is it?
Mate, there's a camera.
Oh, the camera's off and everything.
There's a camera away. I'll wait for it to come on. Bang, there we go. Go away. Yes. Look. The thing is with Celtic and this rebuild, it's going to be so much bigger than what we all originally thought. I've been under the impression.
How many players do you think it's going to actually be? See, with the
I done a video the other day on my channel, and it was basically like an ideal starting 11 for Celtic next season. And with current players who are at the squad, the only players that I had in that 11. And actually, I'll need to take that. This was ideal. So this was me keeping Edouard and Ayer in because that was ideal to keep them. But obviously, we're not going to keep them. So take out them, and you've got, I think, for me, Barkas, if he's even the first team keeper. But here, Big Ange is Greek. So he's Greek born. So there you go. He's going to get the best out of him. But you've got Barkas, you've got Julian, if he's even back fit for the start of the season.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Wouldn't even count him right now. So you've got Barkas, Taylor, if you want to keep him in there, McGregor, Turnbull, Forrest. You've got 4 or 5 players in that starting 11, man, who are arguably good enough to be heading into the starting 11 for next season. This isn't a normal rebuild. This is a rebuild that still doesn't have a manager to lead it. So we have put ourselves in no position, and like I got asked on TSF the other night, David posed the question, it was simple, he's like, yes or no answer, do you think Celtic can win the league next season? And from right now, at this moment in time, sitting in this chair, absolutely not, of course not. It would daft for me to say they could. Maybe 2 months' time and I'm doing my predictions video, we've got a manager, we've got a team, I might be sitting there optimistic, we're going to win the league, boys. But, you know, right now...
Maybe Barisic.
Maybe that's me. I was sitting there with a whole new team out and I've signed all these Australian and Japanese boys. I'm like, maybe Barisic.
Maybe Barisic will get in, maybe.
But in all honesty, like, if I'm sitting here right now, there is no sense in any Celtic fan saying that we can win the league next year is completely off the nut. They're deluded. Like, that is, right now, there's no chance. We need a manager, we need a team, and then you've got to go through the whole process of getting this team fit again, because we're no fit. So there's a long way to go before that conversation even becomes viable in my eyes.
That was going to be my next question. Where do you see going into next season? Do you think you're possible? How far away? But you've kind of answered it almost perfectly there. And I think you're actually being really fair, because I'm looking at it, I'm saying I'm excited for next season. I wish it was kicking off next week. The only way that I can look at it positively at the moment for us to get the league title is that hopefully Rangers go into it as confident as what Celtic were into it this season, and then there's like a massive turn of events. But once again, I will never sit there and make a video like that, because I've seen it now. Everything you've touched this season is starting to go. The question, Connor Gold. Did you know say Connor Goldson was it overrated or something?
I made my video at the start of the year and I was like, most overrated player at every club. But then I was fairly in the video, like I was like, who do you pick for? It was the same with Celtic. I was like, I don't feel like there's a necessary, like a very overrated player at any of the clubs.
Okay, fair enough.
And I said that about Goldson. I was like, the only reason I went for him was because of how bad Rangers' defence was in the second half of the season before. So I was like, he's still a good defender, but I just had to put him in. But
the best defender.
It's like the only thing I can hope for is that. Well, get on. But like. Where I just hope you score in, and it's like that same thing but reversed. But there's no signs to indicate that could happen. At least now that we look and we dig deep, there was signs at Celtic that the decline was coming. There was like bits and bobs you can now dissect and go, Christ, we should have seen this coming. But with Rangers right now, there's no really anything like that. So there's no real sort of thing to base off that Celtic can go and win the league next year at this moment in time.
I think that one of the things is I took as well, because we all know how I felt about the undefeated season and everything. All I wanted was 55. That was the present I wanted that season. The undefeated sheet was a nice little ribbon on the top of it, but it was important, I thought, to see these Rangers players, even though they went ahead and won it so damn early. I mean, it was ridiculous how early we won it, but to continue and make sure you go undefeated. Obviously, we had the really, really disappointing cup. I'm sure he's loved every single second of that. But
I did say.
I mean, he's what already do sitting watching it anyway. But so
both of them. Don't even just wired them, both of them.
That's it. So for me, I was seeing that team hungry, still fighting for each other. And again, you're going to have that kick on to next season. So I'm very, very excited from the Rangers perspective. It sounds like you're kind of just want to get a manager in first, then you can start getting your anticipation up. Is that right?
There's no way I can, because like people are talking about, here's players Celtic could be looking at just now. We're apparently looking at. I'm like, who's looking at them? We've not got we've not got a director of football. We've not got a manager. I'm like, who's looking at them? Is Peter Law making our signings now? Like,
no, it's the paper selling clicks, mate.
It's obscene. So, yeah, you're probably right. So. It's obscene to think about. I can't build any anticipation for next season. Right now, I'm firmly about to plant myself into Euros mode, and then I'll start to worry about where Celtic are next season, because
Nathan
I need a man.
RSC.
Well, I'm more of a Greg Taylor man myself, so I'll be rooting for Greg Taylor.
Hey, even Greg Taylor doesn't back Greg Taylor, but come on.
No, but like, manager first, and then I can start fucking waxing lyrical about next season.
Perfect. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the content. See if you dare make a video about how many Rangers players. Honestly, I hope you do. I hope you just do. I hope you commit to the heel status and just there for a laugh. But now that the season's done and dusted, mate, I've got to ask you a question. You know it's coming.
What's that?
How many Rangers players get in this? You.
Maybe Barisic. Maybe.
Brilliant. But it's been a good conversation, mate. It's fun being able to sit down. And again, you're one of the very, very few out there from that side of thing that can sit and talk and be fair and talk up Rangers of that. Despite you having this monumental Filthy grace online, honestly, the memes. It's not only that it's Rangers and Celtics handed the bat, I've handed it to you, mate. I was the meme. for so long. Never you.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I wish they would look beyond the meme. See amount of Rangers fans are getting my comments who've just been like, "Well, your content's great, mate." I'm glad say that to the ones memeing me. Just say it to them. I know it's not as simple as that. I deserve it.
My favourite thing is you actually mocked yourself, because there is one other play that I want to talk about. You mocked yourself, but then Rangers fans just started using your edit of yourself against you. And I was like,
oh man, I was like, come on.
I was pissing myself.
I was like, that is actually the opening to the video, and they took it the exact same bit. I was like, at least credit me.
It's a cheap pot, mate. Ultimate wrestler. But there is one other thing we've not even touched on. I can't believe it's took us so long, but Shane Duffy, mate. Honestly, I filled in a wee other sign. See, when I was doing for Rangers Player of the Year, I put Shane Duffy in. What a signing he was for you. And I mean, you said he was the best defender in the league, big man. What happened there?
No comment.
I prefer not to speak.
I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. Big trouble.
Brilliant signing, mate. But glorious. But I think that's us. All done and dusty with the old video, mate.
Yep.
Want to shout out where they can find you on the internet? Because I'm sure you're going to have some fun content to look at the start of next season.
You can find me on any Rangers Twitter account, any the Kerrydale Meltdown. You can find me on you can find me everywhere. No, but if you want to actually go and watch the channel, which I suppose some of you might not want to, RYAN118 on YouTube and Ryan Stephen F on Twitter. There you go.
What's your email address?
You try keeping it going, the bit going. I like that. Consistency.
One thing you've not had all season, mate. There you go. But as always, I've been Siege and RYAN118. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Take care of yourselves. All the best and bye-bye.